politician and friend of the Queen Mother, Woodrow Wyatt, has stood up to the Queen Consort's detractors, arguing that she is not the woman who nearly destroyed the monarchy, but the one who is helping to save it. She writes, just as the Queen Mother moulded King George into a man to be reckoned with, it is Camilla who has pulled Charles back from the abyss and made him formidable. It should be with a feeling of gratitude towards Camilla that the nation looks forward. And another part of that column that might just be referencing certain other members of the royal family, shall we say, she writes of the Queen Consort, with no desire to be a celebrity and understanding the monarchy's survival in a democracy is dependent on rectitude, hard work and goodwill, Camilla has helped her husband make his peace with the media and its constant attention. Now, Petronella, it's great to have you. I am one of many who has harboured concerns about Charles on the throne and the idea of Camilla as queen, but I have vowed to give them a chance because they've had such a strong start, I think, these past 7 days. But you were convinced that Camilla... I know, well, they deserve it, and I'm sure it's made a huge difference to them, and it's a huge relief to them this week, Petronella.
Sure
but look, you actually think Camilla is going to end up becoming an asset.
Yes, I think Camilla is so misunderstood and so maligned. The whole Diana Charles was a terrible mistake, and Camilla stayed away. And it was her husband who was unfaithful, Andrew Parker Bowles, not Camilla. And it was only when the marriage had irretrievably broken down that Camilla actually agreed to see Charles again, and he was an absolutely broken man, according to friends. Whatever you think of Diana, she doesn't have a substantial legacy. She was a show pony. You can see that in her in the
Petronella, that's ridiculous.
She chose.
That Petronella, I'm going to step in there. That is absolutely ridiculous. She has left a huge legacy. I mean, she's changed the royal family.
I disagree. I think that Camilla's charities are not as well known as Diana's, but she's so hardworking. Everyone she meets is charmed by her. She's so relatable. She didn't grow up with a title. She's funny. You know, she's just the sort of person you'd want to have a pint with. I think she's probably the most approachable member of the royal family at the moment.
And you know this woman, Petronella.
Yes,
so what's she
yes.
like personally?
She's absolutely great. I mean, if she was here, we'd be sitting around, having a beer, having a laugh. You would love her. And every member of the public who has met her has been enchanted by her. And she's also completely onto the concerns of ordinary people in a way that other members of the royal family perhaps aren't, because they've grown up in this kind of ivory tower, because either they were the royal family or they spent kind of much more time in it, whereas she became Charles's wife quite late on in life. And that's been a sort of advantage.
And I love the point that you make that she doesn't want to be a celebrity. She's very happy behind the scenes. And I actually think that's probably where she has her greatest power, isn't it? She's very influential when it comes to changing Charles's mind. She's always the one who the courtiers will speak to.
The great thing about Queen Consort, it's different from being queen. And she is quite like the Queen Mother, because the Queen Mother was very bubbly, very relatable, went down to the East End during the Blitz, but she was there to support her husband, who in some ways had his faults, was a weak man, not utterly dissimilar to King Charles, but she didn't seek the spotlight for herself. So both these women are the polar opposite of a Meghan, for example. And that's what a Queen Consort should be, because a Queen Consort, in the way that Philip was, because he was a Prince Consort, is there to support the monarch, not to be kind of walking in front, you know, with press all around them and being clothes horses and trying to kind of grab the limelight. It's a very difficult role. It takes a very calm, patient, unshowy kind of personality, and that's what Camilla has. And that's why I think she's a much better wife for Charles than Diana would have been. And I'm not saying that to denigrate Diana, but Diana was too much of a star, and she didn't want to let Charles shine, or he was unable to shine when he was with her. And he needs to now because he's the king.
Well, look, we're not going to agree on Diana, that's for sure. I think she would have made the most incredible queen, but I'm listening to you in terms of some of the benefits, perhaps, of having someone like Camilla who doesn't want to steal the limelight from her husband. Now, speaking of limelight stealers, what have you made, Petronella, of the way that the royal family have welcomed Harry and Meghan back into the fold this week, despite all of their criticism over so many months?
I think it's extraordinarily gracious of them because I personally would like to kick them both in the backside. But it's their responses to these overtures that are so astonishing, though, because at the very least, a period of silence would be most welcome, but instead, they're just more complaints. Basically everything Harry has wanted since he's been here, to wear a uniform, for the children to become prince and princess, has been granted, but all they can do is gripe. And I think that is so ungracious, and it doesn't reflect well on them. And I do agree with what Anne was saying. I think a reconciliation, given their behaviour and given the book that's coming out, is practically impossible because of their attitude. When you extend an olive branch, you have to meet somebody halfway. You can't sort of take the olive branch and smash them on the head with it, which is what they're effectively doing. I mean, nothing seems to be good enough for them. And I don't know what one could do unless the whole royal family abdicated and said, all right, Harry, you're now king and Meghan's queen. I mean, what is it that they want? I just don't get it.
Well, presumably what Charles and William hope is that this display of welcoming nature and being back in the fold is going to make Harry and Meghan consider how they speak about the royal family when they return to California. However, Petronella, having covered them very closely over the past few years, and I know that you have as well, that's not going to happen, is it?
No, we know the book's still coming out, and I hardly think there are going to be extensive rewrites. It's going to come out, and it's going to be highly critical of the royal family, and what I hear is it's going to basically contain accusations of child abuse, centering on Harry being forced to walk behind his mother's coffin and blaming it on his father. Now, a reconciliation after that? No way. No way. How can there be? I mean, if they really wanted a reconciliation, that book shouldn't be coming out at all.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating, isn't it, to see what is in that book. Of course, we don't know, Petronella, we have to make it clear. We don't know, but obviously if Harry was to compare that moment, being forced to walk behind the funeral, as some form of child abuse, that would be a shocking and sensational revelation. But thank you so much.
From very good sources, so...